I've heard a little snippet of what went into you getting ready for this role, but for you, what was the most difficult part? Like the working out, the changing your diet?
Wearing shoes like what you're wearing. Can we get a shot of these shoes?
The shoes was the hardest part?
We were wearing gladiator shoes like that with little heels and having to carry these 20-pound
Now you know
weapons.
a woman's pain.
I have a huge respect for females now, you know. But no, we were sent to boot camp, gladiator boot camp, 4 weeks before the movie. And we did basically about 4 hours training a day for 4 weeks. And it consisted of 2 hours fight training with weapons, and then an hour weight training, an hour running, and then this gladiator diet of 1,800 calories that kind of felt like you were eating paper, you know, but it was all done to get us into the zone of being these Adonises. And, you know, obviously, you saw Kit. He just looks sick, and
well, he said you'd crush him in a real fight. So I'm just saying.
Well, I just got to catch him first, you know, because he's really fast, and it's always tricky. And that's what's interesting about these two characters. My character Atticus, who was the champion gladiator of Pompeii. Pompeii then was the Vegas. Atticus would be the Mike Tyson. He was the man to beat. And so along comes this little guy who I think I'm going to beat. And he's so nippy and quick. You know, so there was a huge respect that was born out of our fight sequences.
So your character is, despite being enslaved by the Romans and them treating him really badly, he kind of like rides for them. You kind of had this faith that they were gonna make good on all these promises they made you. Why do you think that it took Kit's character breaking it down for you to finally like realize?
Yeah, Kit's character really popped my bubble. You know, here's this man who's been enslaved, and he's you know, in Rome of those days, you could win your freedom by the certain amount of fights you win. And Atticus is one fight away from winning his freedom and returning to his family, where he was taken from. And he really believes in Roman law. He has these noble ethics that they will be of their word. And it's a huge betrayal to him. And, you know, a realization of the world, how their world really is, which is based upon lies. And so he has to reform very quickly this new form of enlightenment, how he's going to attain freedom. And fortunately he does, which is aided by his friends. So there's this wonderful philosophical discussions they have, but both of their views are changed by their interaction.
So initially, you guys weren't friends. You guys really didn't like each other so much. What do you think would have happened if you guys had been forced to do that one-on-one fight after becoming friends?
Well, it's like in that setting, the most respect and love that one gladiator could give to another that he actually cared about was to make his death quick. So I'd have probably just chopped his head off.
Would you change anything about the way the movie ended?
No, because I think it's poetic. It is Pompeii. It's a real-life human phenomenon, disaster that happened. And I think, you know, Hollywood has this tendency to want to wrap everything up in a bow or do things that they're expected, or do, you know, what we've done. But I just, without giving it away, I think they're in for a massive surprise that will just enlighten them. As, you know, I think the film is magical. Let's
just start with the obvious.
Yeah.
You couldn't play a badass gladiator without getting into great shape. So what went into your training for this role?
When I was talking to the director about the role, and it said in the script, you know, comes out rippling with muscles, and it seemed pretty obvious that I'd have to get in some sort of shape for it. And I like changing your body for a role. It's a good way into a character, if nothing else. It was a lot of work. I'd love to say, you know, that I didn't do anything for it, and that's how I naturally am, but it's not. I had to do a lot of starving myself, eating too much, starving myself, weightlifting. Yeah, it's a full-time job.
So Milo is tough from the opening scene, and he's kind of like hardened by all the terrible things that happened to him. Why do you think he decided to like open up to Atticus finally?
I think there's a really interesting dimension, no, not dimension, there's a really interesting sort of idea that's played with if you put two men in the same cell together and tell them in 3 days' time they'll have to kill each other, they'll have to fight to the death. Like, it's what do you do? Like, do you ignore the person completely and not talk to them because you don't want to show them sympathy when it comes to it? Do you start playing games with them, start, you know, questioning their tactics, questioning who they are? And so that was quite an interesting dialogue for me and Adewale to play with. And actually what happens is, instead of one of them winning the mind games or one of them ignoring the other one, they find they become friends because they open up to each other in the way that they haven't to anyone else.
They say that there was no warning for what happened, but if this was happening, if you were really Milo, what do you think you would have done differently?
I don't think he has any choice to do anything differently. I think he's an incredibly brave person to go back and try and find her. But no, I don't. I would like to say that if I was in love with the girl, I would run back into the face of a volcano to get her. I would hope I would.
What do you think it was about Cassia that attracted Milo?
I think she says thank you to him for the first time.
Like, treats him like a human?
Treats him like a human. He sees her, obviously she's an attractive young girl, you know, that's the first thing. And then he gives sympathy to this horse in pain, and she says thank you, and she shows him kindness, and he's never seen that before, and to be shown kindness is such an alien thing to him that I think he falls in love with it.
And what was it initially about the role of Cassia that attracted you to this film?
I feel like often in these kind of epic action love story things, you know, the female character is not, I don't know, is usually kind of a secondary, just kind of that damsel in distress thing. And I like the fact that Cassia was intelligent and opinionated and sort of speaks her mind and actually has something to say, and she, you know, she saves Milo a couple of times, and I think that's kind of rare to see that. It's usually the girl that's always being saved. So I like the fact, I mean, I've always wanted to do a film like this, this kind of big romantic, like a Titanic style romance, and so the fact that, you know, she was kind of cool and held her own a bit was kind of what attracted me to it, I suppose.
So your love story is a big part of the movie, but it comes to a rather abrupt and unfortunate end.
Yeah.
If you could change things around, how would you?
In terms of the film?
Yeah, in the way things ended.
I mean, we filmed 2 endings, and I actually like it exactly how it is. I think it's the right ending, because if anything, I mean, if the volcano never happened, Cassia would have been trapped. She would have had to marry a man that she didn't love, and would never have found real love, and also wouldn't have had her freedom. Like, in a way, in a weird sort of bizarre way, the volcano erupting actually sets her free. So I kind of think the way that it ends is perfect. I mean, it's like a tragic love story, which is one of my favorite things to watch. So.
How do you think the story would have changed if you had to marry the senator?
Oh, I mean, I think it would have been a boring story, to be honest. She just would have been incredibly unhappy. Yeah. He would have been awful to her. I don't think he would have really gotten a very interesting movie out of that, to be honest.
Do you think you still would have gone for Milo?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think she, you know, I think Milo is attractive to Cassia because he's dangerous as well. She's been being set up by her parents with all of these kind of stuffy, rich, old guys, and you know, he's exactly what her parents don't want her to be with, and I think for a young woman sometimes that's like, oh, that's exactly what I want to do. Whatever I'm not allowed to do, that's what I'm going to go for.